What's poppin', family? Today I just wanted to do a simple story time and speak on how I overcame my addiction to sound. At one point in time, I was so addicted to sound and music specifically that I would not go more than a few hours without listening to some song on repeat or a few songs on repeat. And this is something that became ingrained into my behavior, it became ingrained into every aspect of my existence. I required sound in order to feel comfortable. And when I got out of the Navy, if you've ever been on a Navy ship, especially when it's underway at sea, it's very loud. There's all types of noises, from fans to the ship's engines to people moving about. It's pretty much never a quiet moment on a ship. And so when you get used to this sound, there just being a constant onslaught of sound, you become comfortable to that environment. And this is what happened, was that I became so addicted to the sound that I required something like a TV on when I was going to sleep, or multiple fans and just a bunch of noise. I needed noise in order to get back to a comfortable place. And what I didn't realize was that this was essentially creating an environment of overstimulation. And I was conditioning myself to becoming overstimulated rather than taking away the stimulation and being comfortable with the silence. For a lot of people, silence can become scary because it's something that we're not used to, especially in this noisy world that we live in. You know, regardless of where you are, typically there's going to be some form of sound. And the more sounds, the more stimuli in that environment, it can quickly become overwhelming. And one of the things I think kind of made me realize, okay, this might be a problem, was I realized at one point I was listening to music while watching a YouTube video, and also listening to an audiobook. So I had three different sources of audio going on, and this was fine to me. You know, to somebody else, this could be crazy, overwhelming. Like, there's three different things going on at once. But this is where I got comfortable, and this is where I started to ask myself, well, why am I comfortable receiving this much stimuli? You know, and when I really took a step back and looked at it objectively, I realized that I had become addicted to sound, and that was something I needed to detach myself from. And so I went on a series of just kind of slowly listening to less and less music. And as a result, I started to fill those gaps with some brief moments of silence. And those brief moments of silence were so powerful because it allowed me to not only hone in on myself and the version of self that I saw at the time, but it allowed me to reflect, because the thoughts that were coming up when they were not me repeating music lyrics in my head or songs, those thoughts were key indicators letting me know where my subconscious was trying to communicate, and what realm my subconscious was trying to communicate, because the subconscious communicates symbolically. And this can be seen through our dreams. You know, our dreams is our subconscious conveying messages to us, but in a symbolic sense. And when you apply an abstract interpretation to a dream, you can extract the message, and typically you'll know if it resonates, because again, the truth always feels right. It is something that is innate and inside. You don't have to, there's just no doubt when it comes to the truth, just because of the vibration it carries. And I think this is something that we have become fine-tuned, or that we have rather fine-tuned as humans, is the ability to find and hone in on the lie, right? And I think some people have this ability more so than others. And if you think about it from a evolutionary standpoint, it's an important ability to have, because it's almost like, if you think about the purpose of deception, right, from an evolutionary standpoint, why would a energy or entity, why would the first ever entity who got in or created or rather transmuted the energy of deception, what would you think would be the original purpose for that? Why would that need to be created? Why would that energy need to be called forth? And I think my best guess is that deception was a means of not taking a shortcut, but teaching the details. Because when you pay attention to the details, you don't miss anything. However, if one is not present, this is how a scam can get pulled on you. If you don't understand, and if you're not paying attention to the details, right? If you're not looking at the actual full website title and not realizing that it's Bank of America with 2 M's in the title, you're not looking at the details, and you put in your account information. These are how you fall for these scams, is because the devil is in the details, right? And so if the devil is in the details, that means the development is in the details. And the development is exactly what's going to build your mind. So if that's what's going to build your mind, the devil is going to build your mind. Well, again, you got to think, what is it being built for? This is the big question. If this is the buildup, why are we building towards this? Why are we creating? Why does the mind create attachments to these material things? Why is the mind susceptible to thinking that it is attached to these material things, that it needs these material things? You have to ask, why would these things be programmed? Why would we be programmed as a being, as technology? Why would technology be programmed to keep itself alive? One, to nourish itself. Two, and to seek some form of reward. Three. So if we just focus on those 3 aspects, from a mind standpoint and from a developer standpoint, why would we create these 3 prime directives and place it inside of a technology? What would be the purpose of that? In my opinion, I fully believe that the purpose is to create separation. But the separation is, again, what gives the contrast. Because the closer you get to it, the closer you get to a bigger object, the more you fall into its shadow. So that would put you into a state of darkness. So the closer you get, the darker it gets. And the same would be true for the opposite. The further you are, the brighter it's going to appear. But again, this is a matter of perspective, and this is about traveling throughout space and time. So when we consider ourselves to be in one point, one space and time, we have to think about why we are in that space and time, and what is the purpose of us being in that space and time. If everything is seen as a training, if this entire reality can be seen as a training simulation, as building up of the mind, then it would begin to make more sense why, from a technological standpoint, you would program the organism to stay alive, to seek rewards, and to try and maintain a state of equilibrium via nourishment. When it comes to sound, you have to understand that sound can and is already being weaponized. And it's being weaponized because repetition, trauma, and symbols is the three ways how the subconscious is programmed. So music contains typically all three of those things. Typically it's an artist's trauma, and they are repeating some form of something, either in a hook, and then you've got the symbols, the symbolic images that some artists place in your mind by just painting a picture. This puts you into that point in time, and again, this is an energy transfer. And when you don't understand the energy that's being transferred via the music, it can overcome your system and fundamentally restructure your principles, your morals, which you hold to be valuable. And confidence is the ability to store value. So when you are confident, you fully trust in your abilities and your strengths. However, this goes back to self-awareness, because without a level of self-awareness, you can't have the confidence. And the awareness just allows you to gauge and to reflect and to evolve and to create a better program of confidence. Because the way I see it, all of these, everything is like a program, and we execute on these programs daily. So confidence is a program, fear is a program, joy is a program, happiness, depression is a program. All these programs, we have to choose to run these programs because we put ourselves into a different state of being. And there's different chemicals that are produced when we are in these different state of beings. So us as the CEO of our bodies, we are the top head lead of the world's finest nuclear chemical producing power plant that exists, and that's the human body. We can pretty much synthesize and create almost every single chemical known to man in our body. And this is a magnificent feature. However, again, I've mentioned this previously in another video. If I give you a super quantum computer and you don't know any of the programming language, it's useless. And this is kind of the same case where even with the tools, you have to understand that these are things being practiced. This is sound warfare. And if I can get you addicted to a certain way of living, a certain mythology, a certain ideology, any of this, if I can get you stuck on that, if I can get you attracted to that, if I can get that into your subconscious on loop, I'm going to fundamentally retrain, and you're going to mesh with that energy for better or for worse. And this is why it becomes important to really curate the music you listen to, the sounds you listen to, because all of this is just waves. It's just vibrations. And when you understand how vibrations affect you, you have to see yourself as a piano. And over time, with all the radiation and everything that's just constantly on you, that can put your piano out of tune. And so with that, there's different spiritual methods such as Reiki, which is getting your piano back in tune, getting your body back in tune energetically. And this is important because when you understand that it is about being in tune and all these things are getting you out of tune, then you can look at things from a different standpoint, and you can equip yourself to fight these things a little better. You know, it is possible to, again, confront all the loud noises in your head to the point to where it can be still. And I will tell you, it takes some getting used to when there's just no thoughts at times. It's just silence. And it's the strangest thing to me because previously I hadn't experienced just silence. That would have just drove me crazy. But now I find it comforting to just sit in the silence of my mind, and it's an oasis. You know, I can tune out everything in my external world, just go within, and it just becomes a beautiful place. And it's just a matter of me flipping that switch, deciding whenever I want to go within. But it took me demolishing the chaotic environment that existed before and rebuilding a new beautiful place that I wanted to exist in. And so that takes work and it takes time, but it starts with acknowledging the fact that, again, maybe I am addicted to sound. Maybe I am addicted to the overstimulation, you know, because for me, it wasn't something that I realized was a problem for the longest time until I just started to realize, well, why am I doing this? And when you start to question the behavior, it just makes you justify, in a sense. And justification is nothing more than a verification on, well, am I doing this for valid reasons, or am I just doing this because that's just kind of like old code that carried over and it was never re-optimized, or that bit was never erased. So it's like we got to get the code updated and we got to get it to a better place where, again, the goal is to have that inner oasis within your mind that is just the most peaceful place and the most peaceful feeling you can feel should be by going within your mind and sitting in the stillness, the quietness, the darkness. And yeah. Till the next one, family. Peace.